this life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.
So Saturday is going to be UFC on Vegas 4 or whatever the hell the nomenclature is. But all you have to know is that main event, ladies and gentlemen, is damn sensational. Dustin Poirier is back for the first time since his loss to Khabib Nurmagomedov back in Abu Dhabi, speaking of which. He is taking on Dan, the Hangman Hooker. Okay, BC, what is at stake for the winner between Poirier and Hooker?
This is a badass fight in the most baddest ass division in the history of MMA at one time. Seriously, look it up. Luke, this summer is friggin' loaded. There's no fight this summer that means more than DC and Stipe. But this is the best fight of the entire summer. I seriously mean that. Fighter versus fighter, I defy you to find one that is better. I can't frickin' wait for this. Look, if you not only win this fight, you're in that upper core of again, historically deep and loaded division with Khabib on top, with Justin Gaethje knocking on the door, with Conor lingering, with a few other killers rightfully in need of a major fight. But if you win this fight spectacularly, you might get on that rocket ship. You might get something out of this world massive as your reward. This is a big boy fight. This is as good as Dan Hooker has looked, as much as we've liked him bounce back from that loss to Barbosa. Everything he's done as of late has been golden. This is the deep end of the pool. And, could he catch Poirier on the wrong night, on the wrong time in his career? Long layoff, coming off of surgery, coming off a one-sided loss. You're getting plus money on Dan Hooker. I'm not a big betting guy, but this might be the right angle to go. This might be the right time to fight Dustin Poirier. But either way, I love how they match up, their striking styles. I love everything about this. If you win, you're going up. If you win big, you might parachute in, Luke. I'm not saying you're going to get Khabib next or whatever, but you may push the others aside. The winner of this certainly isn't going to be demanding Conor money. I don't know when and if Conor's ever going to fight again. You might be able to slide right in and get a massive opportunity. Is there anything, when you look at the sort of X's and O's of it, that has you leaning either way right now, Luke?
I have to think more about it, but it's what makes this fight so great, as you indicated, are the stakes, are sort of like the two guys who are quiet except when they're not, and when they're not, look out kind of vibe, and the contrast in styles, because you have a guy who can do it all but is a little bit more kickboxing based in Dan Hooker. You got a guy who can do it all but is a little bit more boxing based, obviously southpaw as well, in Dustin Poirier. Poirier, pound for pound, might be one of the harder hitters at 155 pounds. Hooker, on the other hand, very quick, makes snappy decisions, throws a lot of the knee coming up the middle, so sort of unorthodox things that a lot of other guys don't throw. And so for those reasons, you're like, wow, man, this is just a hell of a fight. Plus, both guys have shown a tremendous chin at 155. Now, 145, when they were both badly depleted, not so much. You move them up a weight class, and they're hard to put away even when you land on them. So there's just, an enormous amount here to like. The last thing I'd say about this, BC, it's also worth mentioning, Dustin Poirier has never lost 2 in a row, ever. It's never happened. So if you lose 2 in a row, I'm not saying it's the end of your career, of course, but it would certainly mark something that's never happened. He has been defined not merely by some of the good fights that he has been in or some of the great fighters he's defeated. He has also been a function of how much do I bounce back from adversity? And the answer is routinely quite well. The last time he had a loss prior to the Nurmagomedov fight was the Michael Johnson fight. And after the Michael Johnson fight, he went on the best win streak of his career, and that's where he, in fact, claimed the interim title. Dan Hooker is looking to build into something like that, having first defeated Paul Felder, and now if you can get the Dustin Poirier scalp, dude, you are going to be on that short list. And again, we go back to it. New Zealand might be a place where they can have full-on arena shows. Well, what would be better than a show with City Kickboxing, and they've got Brad Quake Riddell, they've got Israel Adesanya and maybe some Dan Hooker as well, they would tear the roof off that bitch in Auckland. So it's a huge opportunity for a lot of different players here.
I picked up something in what you were saying there about Poirier. This is certainly not comparative equally to, let's say, the position Tyron Woodley was in going into that Gilbert Burns fight we just saw, where that was a legitimate crossroads fight. You will tell us which direction your career is heading by how you perform. Would you say this is a sleeper crossroads fight for Poirier? There's some elements in that, Luke, where he's not devastated with a second straight loss against another elite guy, but he's also at that sort of turning point where you become a celebrity name or you keep going back up toward that title.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that, right? Because one, he's never lost 2 in a row, as I indicated. 2, at lightweight, you've got big names kind of sitting at the top, right? And you've had them there for a long time. Your Connors, your Khabibs, your Tonys. And Tony is still up there, but he did lose. And Justin has now sort of asserted himself there. And here's what I mean. It's like we keep talking about bantamweight, right? How great bantamweight is. I don't know who's going to win that title come 251 or who's going to fight for afterwards. And it'll be Sterling, I guess. But, who's going to win? I can't predict who's going to be the bantamweight champ in 2 years, BC, because, Jesus Christ, like they're just going to keep asserting themselves on one another in a very competitive way. There's a lot of parity at the top there. I believe even with Nurmagomedov, this might be true, but certainly outside of him, there's a ton of parity there. There are guys who are bad matchups for Conor. Conor's a bad matchup for some of them. I still think Tony can beat elite lightweights. By the way, Dustin Poirier, as I mentioned, never coming off a second loss. A Dan Hooker, here he comes out of nowhere to start stomping on fools. Like, if you lose 2 in a row, it's not just a setback, but all these new faces and names start to claw ahead. And so how much harder is it to then get back, because you're not competing against the old names that were up there when you were kind of up there. It's the old ones, but some of them are gone. There's a bunch of new ones now. The turnover is so high that any loss is really consequential, especially 2 in a row.
This life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.